glad you're all here. We are so happy that we're having this opportunity to provide this webinar and Janet to you. This was a talk that was given at our summer planning conference last month, but many people due to COVID and staffing issues were not able to come. So we want to make sure that everybody who needs to hear this can hear it. And that's the attempt today. So I would like to introduce Janet, who is a great friend of Swan. Janet Ingram-Dwyer is the Youth Services Library Consultant at the State Library of Ohio. Her job is to support, advise, and empower children and teen services specialists in public and school libraries around the state. And of course, my phone would go off when I'm reading this. She manages Ohio's participation in the nationwide collaborative summer library program, which she's going to talk about today, and collaborates with Ohio Library Council on Ohio Ready to Read, a statewide resource network to facilitate early literacy activities in libraries. So welcome, Janet. We're so glad to have you here.
I'm so delighted to be here. I'm grateful to Swan, as always, for your indefatigable work to provide content for your libraries. It's awesome. And I'm grateful for everyone who is here today, and thank you for your patience with the Zoom issues. We're on now, so that's great. I'm Janet, and I am going to be talking about summer library programming. I hope that I'm on two screens, so if you see me look off to the left or right, it's just me looking to see what's going on the chat, because I won't be able to see the chat from my main screen. I know that we have friends here from Ohio and friends from Kentucky, and I should say right up front that a couple of the resources and opportunities I'm going to be talking about this afternoon are Ohio specific. I'm going to try to keep those to a minimum for our Kentucky contingent. Probably all of you in Kentucky know my counterpart at the KDLA, Amy Olson. And Amy is your go-to person for summer library program materials, for anything related to the collaborative summer library program, and all things youth services in general. So be in contact with her. Feel free to follow up with me about anything that I say today that you have questions about, whether you're in Ohio or Kentucky. If I've been noticing that folks are saying hi on the chat, and if you haven't yet and wouldn't mind just kind of saying hi on the chat and saying where you're from, what library or library system or county or state you happen to be in, would be really awesome. We're going to have maybe one or two audience participation parts of this hour if you wish to participate, at which point anyone who wants to is welcome to unmute and talk. If that is not something you're comfortable with, that is also fine. Please use the chat as much as you want to for anything. Bear with me while I get my slides together. Okay, so we're going to talk about the summer library program. It being February now is prime time. This is kind of my favorite time of year to think about and talk about summer, but I have a distinct advantage in that I'm not actually planning a summer library program. I work at the state library. Unlike you, I do not work directly with kids and families and teens and adults. And I just give you all of the credit and all of the gratitude for the work that you're doing. But around this time of year is when I have had it with winter. And winter has not had it with us, not by a long shot. So it's just nice to be able to think about what life is going to be like in June and July. So I hope you're all excited about the coming summer. You probably have some trepidation for a number of reasons, including that we have absolutely no idea what this summer 2022 is going to be like as far as our little pandemic is concerned, which means that everything continues to be up in the air. But for the past 2 summers, you all have done amazing things with the situation that you were handed. And before I talk about stuff that you might want to use or think about or consider for 2022, let me just pause for a minute and talk about last summer. So these are a couple of photos from a couple of different Ohio library programs, just to shout them out. Let's see, down at the bottom left is a wilderness walk at Way Public Library in Northwest Ohio. Reading to a Llama took place at Meigs County District Library, and the teens are doing tie-dye up at the Coshocton Public Library. And the quotes are also from librarians responding to the annual Ohio Summer Library Program evaluation survey, which those of you in Ohio know and love because I ask you to fill it out every year. I'm very grateful to you for filling out every year. It gives me and the state and you and Swan and the OLC and everybody who cares a lot of important information about what you were able to accomplish and who you reached and had an impact on in the summer. In Ohio, our overall summer participation was well over half of what we had been accustomed to before the pandemic. It was about 56%-ish of the number of people who participated in, say, 2019 or 2018 participated in a summer library program in Ohio in 2021. So that's great. That is up from not a lot in 2020. And overall, that's like over 250,000 people in Ohio participated in a library summer program. So if you did feel kind of busy and exhausted last summer, you had folks at your library and they were there in spite of a lot of different obstacles. And you provided programs to them in spite of a lot of different obstacles. Our program attendance in Ohio was over 500,000 in summer 2021. So awesome work, folks. Some of the things that, and this is leading up to the first audience participation section. Some of the things that our libraries had in common last year that I think are relevant for this year also include outdoor programming was like through the roof, the biggest new important thing. And it's not like nobody had ever done outdoor programming before, but in summer 2020, a lot of us couldn't do anything because the COVID restrictions were so tight and the science was just trying to learn what was even going on with this pandemic. And so other than online virtual programming, most libraries did little to no programming in summer 2020. You might have done programming for pods of 9 or fewer, if you remember that, but that was occasional. A lot of libraries just didn't. A lot of libraries were still not open in summer of 2020. So in summer of 2021, we all discovered the beauty and the capacity of outdoor programming because it allowed us to do a lot of things for our kids and teens in our communities safely within public health guidelines. And for the libraries who were using the Tails and Tales theme, it just merged right into, programming with live animals, for instance, nature programming, SEM programming, and so forth. The public was really excited about you guys doing programs and doing outdoor programming. There was just the thrill for library staff of being able to do a program at all. Attendance was good. On the flip side, outdoor programming has a lot of challenges. It has a bigger workload than in library programming because you have to attend to getting all the stuff to where it's going. You have to reckon with weather. You might have to reckon with outdoor noise, with people wandering into your programs, a lot of different things that you don't have a lot of control over in the great outdoors that you would have better control over if you were in your meeting room or in your story time area. On the other hand, it was a great opportunity for libraries to partner with parks and partner with other agencies and organizations that could provide outdoor space and could provide enrichment. So it was big. It was a big thing, and it's probably going to be a big thing again this year, outdoor. Take home kids, grab and go materials, the things that you put together and they pick up or you drop off for them. That remained very popular also. I feel like take and makes. It used to be make and takes. We would have people in the library making something and they would take it home, but now they take it home and then they make it. I think those are here to stay also. They can be resource intensive, they can be expensive, they can definitely be time intensive for you to put together X number of kits for people to take home, but the public seems to adore them and not stop adoring them. Unlike online programming is where things kind of faltered, it seemed like last year. Your mileage may vary, but a lot of librarians have told me that the public was just tired of attending online virtual programs if they had ever enjoyed doing so in the first place. There's a lot of screen fatigue. Kiddos had been home from school for a very long time, having school online, and parents weren't necessarily, or guardians were not necessarily excited about them being online for library programming also. So varied a lot, but overall, those were some of the big things that are notable about what summer library programming is like these days that didn't used to be the way things are, and now they were. Um, so with that, before I move on and talk about 2020, let me open it up. If people want to put something in the chat, or if you are inspired to open your mic and say something, I'm super curious as to your experience last year. Was it better than you expected? Was it worse than you expected? What surprised you? Is there something that sticks out from your experience last summer that's like, this was like a really interesting result, or this was something that we experimented with that we're going to keep doing? That's a wide open question. I'm just going to be quiet for a few seconds and see if anybody bites.
I'll share. This is Ariel with the Janelle Branch. I'm going to keep my camera off. It's been a rough day.
Ariel, before you go ahead, yes, you are absolutely empowered to keep your camera off. Folks can have camera on or off as you see fit. Thanks. And thanks for sharing. Go ahead.
We did not typically, because we're a smaller branch and a smaller community, we don't have as many staff member to hold story time outside. So it really pushed us during the pandemic to go outdoors into a big enough space. So we collaborated with our local parks and went and actually met in the gazebo, out in the shelter house. So it was great for the kids to be able to interact with nature. They could go play if they needed to, come back and sit down because they had too much energy, or we'd have families come listen to story time and then have lunch afterwards. So it was just a very engaging thing for us. So we'll definitely continue that.
That is awesome. And thank you very much for sharing. I appreciate it. It's exciting. This is going to keep going for this year.
So at Mason, we do a reading for beads program, and other years it's always been time-based. Every 15 minutes you earn a plain pony bead. And then we have fancy beads to trade for. Well, we dropped the trading during COVID and just give everybody a packet of like 80 beads and a chain and all the things that their parents could do at home. And I think that was part of why our circulation was down, because we didn't have kids coming in constantly to get beads and trade beads. So we're not gonna do that again. I'm bringing my volunteers back, and much to the faintly suppressed horror of our staff, the beads will be back inside the library. But another thing that we will keep, though, is I changed it to letting people set their own goals a little more, instead of it being time-based, which I'd noticed was really good for like the 4th to 6th graders. We let people decide whether they were going to read 50 hours or 50 days or 50 books. And parents, we just encouraged parents to think about what fit their kid and would keep their kid reading throughout the summer. And then if we had some things to let our crazy readers keep going. But we had a lot of feedback from parents and from early elementary teachers that was a really good fit, and let parents with reluctant readers customize things a little bit more. So that part we'll keep.
Thanks very much, Cheryl. I could Zoom with Cheryl every day. We got to Zoom 2 days in a row now. I love the concept of kind of opening up completion to more self-directed goals. And what everyone's goal is for completion in your library is well thought through. And I'm not here to say that's not a good idea, but if you are in a place where you can think about whether it would be appropriate and whether it would work within your system, and not your library system, but like your tracking system, to let people select their own goals, there's something that feels really equitable about that, because you all have kids who love to read and who are great at reading, and you have kids who don't like to read and are not great at reading. And the whole system of a reading challenge is set up to favor the kids who already love to read. And it's, what a lot of libraries have been doing for probably a decade or so now, of incorporating other activities that can count towards a goal, like, attending a library program, making something, volunteering, listening to an audiobook, watching a film. Those are all fabulous because they do kind of expand the attractiveness and empower kids with different interests and different abilities. And when I say kids, I mean teens and parents and older people and everybody also. So thank you so much, Cheryl. I appreciate that. And I'm also, I like your bead program, and your bead tracking program. And I hope that having the beads in the library brings people back into the library to check out books. I also wrote down the phrase faintly suppressed horror, because I think that is a very useful phrase that is going to be part of my vocabulary from now on. Anyone else before we move on? And there's a lot of cool stuff in the chat also. Thank you. Okay, well, thanks so much, everyone, for sharing. I appreciate it. If you have questions, always feel free to open up your mic and just interrupt me and start asking, because I do have the chat over there, but I know I'm not going to look at it. So if you need anything clarified, then just start talking. So I want to talk about the Collaborative Summer Library Program that you probably are already familiar with. So I won't belabor this, but both Ohio and Kentucky are state members of this nationwide consortium of states that uses the buying power of all of the member states to provide high quality summer reading program materials for public libraries at what we hope is a low cost. So the CSLP, as it's abbreviated, negotiates with national vendors and with well-known artists and illustrators. Our illustrator for this year's program on the theme of Oceans of Possibilities is Sophie Blackall, who has won the Caldecott Medal a couple of times. The CSLP has been around since the late 1980s, and Ohio joined in 2004. So if you're in Ohio, you have probably been elbow to elbow with this program for much of your career. I don't know how long Kentucky's been a CSLP member, but I feel like one of the first people I met the first time I went to a CSLP meeting was my then Kentucky counterpart, Heather. So Kentucky's been with us for a while. Each year, the CSLP produces a programming manual with program ideas on a specific theme, and they contract with an artist to provide artwork and related visuals. They have a lot of input from librarians around the country. Both, I try to make sure that you all have, and Amy Olson tries to make sure that you all have plenty of opportunities to provide feedback to the CSLP. Right now, both of us have open surveys to collect your ideas for slogans and themes for upcoming programs. And by upcoming, I think we're talking 2025 and 2026. So down the road. At some point, I'll try to remember to put a note in the chat with the link to the Ohio survey. But if I fail to do that and you're interested and you don't have that link, please email me. There is never a requirement for public libraries to use the CSLP theme or artwork or anything else related to CSLP, but it's always available to you. Ohio libraries get a manual now online. Formerly, we used to send a lot of big old paper manuals to y'all. That manual is free to you. The artwork is free to you. The membership is free. Any merchandise that you want to purchase is on your dime, but the basics you get for free. the themes are intended to be open-ended and broad. I was a little bit nervous back a couple years ago when we set the oceanography theme. I'm thinking, well, we have a lot of waterways in Ohio, and we have a Great Lake to our north, far away from most of us. But I don't know if ocean will resonate with our folks, but people have really embraced it a lot. I mean, for one thing, it doesn't matter. Kentucky is landlocked, but everyone impacts the ocean, and everyone is impacted by the ocean every day. You and I are 70% water, and the earth is 70% water. And just even a little scratch into ocean science, which is as far as I've gone. I am no oceanographer, but I'm fascinated by how impactful our oceans are on every part of life. And you could do a lot of programming around that this summer if you wish to do so. What you're looking at right now is some of the children's themed artwork by Sophie Blackall. There are Facebook banners. The whole slide set is on a PowerPoint template that is part of the manual packet also. These and all the art pieces are available for download as JPEG or PNG formats. I don't know if that's pronounced ping. It's been around for a long time, but I only ever see it written down. Notice that like the seahorse piece has a little copyright symbol down at the bottom of it. There are copyright embedded versions of all of the art pieces for you to use online on your websites and social media. Those, I think if somebody right clicks to download them from your social media, they'll get a message that says this is a copyrighted item, because it's available for your use, but it's not intended for the general public to use, or for anyone else to take advantage or make any kind of profit from this artwork. These designs also appear on t-shirts, decorations, prizes. We'll look at a few examples in a couple minutes, and paper products in the CSLP catalog. If you've been working with these themes for a while, you probably are aware that a few years ago, CSLP revised its rules of use and changed its relationship with it. Well, let me start over. CSLP had contracted with Demco to do the catalog and do a lot of the stuff around the visuals and the products and whatnot, including negotiating with the artists. And we librarians only had access to the artwork for any given CSLP program year for like 18 months. And then you weren't allowed to use that art anymore. And if you did use it, you didn't tell me about it. And if you did tell me about it, I didn't hear you. But officially, we only had a limited window when we could use that artwork. Now CSLP negotiates directly with the artists as of 2017. And so any of the CSLP artwork and materials from 2017 forwards, you can use anytime, always, and forever. So maybe you're using Oceans of Possibilities this summer and maybe you're not, but maybe, 4.5 years from now in the fall, you're going to do some big program around whale watching or sea creatures or something like that. And you're like, I remember that Sophie Blackall artwork from years ago. You can use that for whatever library purpose you want to use from now until the end of the time. A future summer reading program, a winter reading program, a one-off program, newsletter, clip art things, you name it. There is a set of rules of use on the CSLP website. I strongly encourage everyone to look at it to make sure you're using the artwork appropriately, but basically it's yours to use for any programming related reason in your library. And so I hope that you can make use of it. Just going to pause on this slide for a moment to show you some of the examples of the early literacy themed artwork by Sophie Blackall. The penguin pair is also available on a t-shirt. This is some of the teen themed artwork that Sophie Blackall created for us. In the conversations I've had with people, the water snakes are controversial. I think they're creepy, but some people absolutely adore them. So you can use that or not as you wish. I appreciate the body positivity and a lot of the human figures that Sophie has created for us. And the Sunbather was super popular with the CSLP state reps when we first got to see this artwork when it was still in kind of pre-production. These are some examples of our adult themed artwork. If you do choose to use this artwork, of course you can mix and match it. Several years ago, the CSLP contracted with separate artists for different age groups, and a lot of libraries pushed back and said, my library looks like chaos because the children's room has one kind of artwork and then the teen room looks completely different, and the adult reading room looks completely different from that. And I just would prefer that everything kind of went together. So working with one artist, we hope that we have more of a kind of smooth, easy transition from department to department if you decide to use this artwork across your departments for programming and publicity and visual impact this summer. I'm not here to talk about that lighthouse. I've talked about it too much. Some of you have on library social media have probably had really interesting conversations about that lighthouse, but there it is. But I like what she's done for us. I will also say that any given year, a lot of library folks love whatever the artwork is, and a lot of library folks don't love it. And a lot of communities are like, this is going to work great for us. And some communities are like, I just don't know. This is why I'm glad that we have options to use different artwork. If we don't want to use Oceans of Possibilities, you also don't need to use the Sophie Blackhall artwork in order to use the theme. If you want to find or create ocean or waterway related art on your own, that's fine as well. These are some of the catalog products available at the CSLP catalog. The link, the URL down at the bottom will get you there, or if you just go to the CSLP website, there's a link directly to shop. The next order deadline is March 1st. If you want your items by May 1st, I think that you need to have your order in by March 1st. Those squid hats are adult size. If you get nothing else out of this hour, be aware that those squid hats are adult size. I think that's all I need to say about that. And that I like the green one. So if you wish to purchase one from me, you can purchase the green one from me. Or maybe you should purchase a different color because someone else might purchase the green one for me. Anyway, squid hats. These are the posters for the Oceans of Possibilities program. These posters are available for download from the online manual. They're also available for sale as, you know, regular printed full color glossy posters in the catalog. They're available in English and Spanish. And these are the fonts that are used for the slogans, like the Oceans of Possibilities artwork that you see in the bottom corner is using that font called Yes. These fonts are all findable and downloadable for free on the internet. So you need just do a search of your favorite search engine to find them, and then you can download them and use them if you want to in your newsletters or other materials. Use the same fonts that are associated with the artwork already. If for whatever reason you can't, don't want to, aren't allowed to download fonts from the internet, the pink box has some fonts that are pretty standard on Microsoft products, at least, that in my non-expert design person opinion go pretty well with the artwork and with the theme as well. And the slides that I'm sharing are using that font called Modern Love Caps. Okay. I'm going to move on from fonts. If you want to jot these down, I think these slides are going to be shared. If they're not, then email me and I'll send you that information if you want to check out these fonts. But I want to tell you if you have been kind of biding your time for the past half hour because you're like, I'm not using this theme. This theme does not work for my library, or I would just want to do something else this summer. These are all the CSLP themes that I mentioned a couple minutes ago. You have perpetual access to the artwork for these going back to Libraries Rock, and it's, unless something changes with the way that CSLP negotiates with artists in the future, this is going to be true next year of Oceans of Possibilities. It's going to be true for future CSLP themes. So, and I know of some libraries that because 2020 was so disruptive, they just basically they either didn't do a summer reading program at all, or they did something very minimal, but they wanted to do Imagine Your Story. So they saved that and did Imagine Your Story last year. And they're going to do Tales and Tales this year. And they're just going to run basically a year behind, whatever the program theme year is, at least for the time being. So if that's your story, that works just fine. Any of these are available to you. The Tales and Tales manual is available online in the same place where you get to the Oceans of Possibilities manual. The previous manuals CSLP is trying to get them all up on the online manual section of their website, but CSLP has a staff of 2.5 for the whole country, and it's busy season. It's always busy season. So that's taking a lot of time to do. I'm not sure what Amy's resources are in Kentucky, but if you are in Ohio and you want to find a copy of one of these previous manuals for the artwork in it, I'm pretty sure I've got some USB kicking around the office where I sometimes am. So feel free to email me. My email will be on the last slide. If you're in Kentucky and you contact Amy and she's like, I don't have that, then go ahead. For heaven's sakes, we're neighbors, my friends. We are neighbors. Another thing you can do if you are not interested in using the CSLP artwork is there's another organization that, like CSLP, is a library-driven consortial kind of organization. This one is called iRead, and it is operated by the Illinois Library Association. And it's basically CSLP and iRead are the Coke and Pepsi of summer reading program things for libraries. So they're competitors. They both do very similar things. They have a programming manual. They contract with artists to create posters and visuals and t-shirts and things like that. Their slogan for 2022 is Read Beyond the Beaten Path, kind of an outdoorsy camp kind of slogan. They do work with multiple artists. So if you are not one of those librarians who said, we don't like multiple artists, we want all the artwork to have a consistent feel, maybe iRead is for you. Also, Dave Pilkey, not only Dave Pilkey, but Dragon. Dogman is fine and Captain Underpants is fine, but Dragon is the best. And iRead has him this year. So if you all want to go off and use iRead for just that reason only, I can't blame you. The KDLA and State Library of Ohio do not subsidize your purchase of iRead manuals, but they're affordable. It's something like $25. The website, I'm sorry, I didn't have it on my notes and I didn't have it on my slide, but we can all look in our favorite search engine and just find iRead if you want to explore that. By the way, in 2023, the CSLP slogan is going to be All Together now, and the artist will be Frank Morrison. In 2023, iRead is going to use the slogan Find Your Voice. So I've been talking about the manual. If you have not seen it before, you have access to kind of behind a password wall section of the CSLP website where all of this material resides. If you do not have the code for how to get to that section of the CSLP website, please contact Amy or me as appropriate, and we will get you connected with that information. On the screen now is just a couple examples of what some of the program recipes look like that you will find there. Every Ohio and Kentucky public library worker has access to, has the authority to use this manual. You can look for programs specifically by age group or by theme. You can also look for some keywords that might help you to find programs that help with what you need to do or what you're looking for. You'll see up at the top of those programs, there are some tags like craft, outreach, low cost. My favorite tag, and it's not on either the ones that I pulled, but you'll see this on some of the programs, is solo librarian or similar. And those are programs and crafts that are intended to be fairly simple and straightforward, that if you are the only person in your branch or the only person in your library who's doing this, that it's not going to be a super burdensome thing for you to try to do. The librarians who volunteer to put together this manual come from all sizes of libraries, and many of them are definitely solo practitioners and are trying to stay attuned to not making their peers' workloads out of control. It's hard enough preparing for the summer without trying to put together a program by yourself that really needs 2 or 3 staff members and 4 volunteers to do well. Okay, here we briefly enter a kind of Ohio-centric portion of the presentation. So Kentucky folks, bear with me. There were 1 or 2 Easter eggs in here for you also, but just for the Ohio people to know, the web address at the top of your screen right now will take you to a webpage on the State Library's website where we collect just an array of other resources that hopefully you can use to help you plan your summer library program. We do have, like what we're doing right now today, Swan Libraries and the other regional library systems offer online and in-person workshops for planning summer programming, and there are a few of those yet to come. If you are or can get to Northwest Ohio, Norweld is doing a day-long workshop at the beginning of March, and I shouldn't have mentioned it because I think it's full. There's also going to be another online workshop by Searles, which is the Southeast Ohio Regional Library System, coming up in early March. And there's a workshop for planning programming for adults. So if part of your responsibility is adult programming, the Northeast Ohio Regional Library System is putting together next week a day of program planning for adult services for summer. 2 things that I want to point out that you can get to here include, as we get statewide incentives for summer reading in Ohio, I don't post openly on the website because they're just for you, they're not for the general public, but there will be password protected pages on this site where you can download the coupons and certificates for, I think we will have Ohio Renaissance Festival, half off admission, Ohio State Parks, a modest discount on overnight camping, and a $4 coupon for admission to the Ohio State Fair for ages up to 14. These are all discounts that we have offered regularly in the past, so you're probably familiar with them. The Ohio State Fair didn't take place in 2020 or 2021, but if all goes well, there will be an Ohio State Fair in 2022, and you can send your folks up here to Columbus with a $4 coupon if you wish to do so. Another incentive, which is new this year, and I'm excited about it, is the Greater Cleveland Aquarium has partnered to provide a deeply discounted virtual education program that you can book with them. This is available to any public library in Ohio or Kentucky that is using Oceans of Possibilities. The Greater Cleveland Aquarium ordinarily does 45-minute online, like virtual outreach programs for $90. And this one is $50. It's called Oceans of Possibilities, and it's specifically put together for libraries. You can work with them to have it aimed towards young children, teens, all ages. So they'll work with you to make sure that they're making a program that suits your audience. Their program allows for multiple logins if you want to have it be a virtual program that people watch from their homes, Or if you want to have it be a big screen program in your library and invite people to come into the library and have the aquarium be on the big screen and interact with your audience that way, they can do that as well. There is a link right on that website to a flyer that looks like this, that has all of the details about that. And again, that's for both Kentucky and Ohio. So if that's something that's of interest to you, they will schedule pretty much anytime Monday through Friday during business hours through the whole summer. So if you're interested, track that down. The Cleveland Aquarium also is offering a deep discount on a admission ticket pack that you can use for a grand prize. However, most of us are hours and hours away from Cleveland, so that might not be of any appeal here, but I thought I would mention it just in case it is. And I know we've got a couple of northern neighbors who are joining us today also. We've only got about 10 minutes left. I do want to make sure I leave some time if folks have questions or comments. I want to say one more thing, and this is for the Ohio folks. We have an application open for libraries to apply for some LSTA funds to support your summer library program. So our LSTA summer library program grant is closing on February 15th, which is next Tuesday. So get your proposal in soon. You can apply for up to $2,000 in federal funds. You need to put up a 25% local match. That means that if you apply for $2,000, you need to also demonstrate to us that you have $500 that you will add to that pot towards the whole cost of your project, which, then you'd have $2,500 for your summer library program project. That can be library budget. It can be Friends of the Library money. It can be fundraised money. It can be another grant from somewhere else. It just can't be federal funds. You do not have to use CSLP, Oceans of Possibilities, or anything in order to qualify for this grant. You do not have to have an MLIS degree to qualify for this grant. You just have to be working in an Ohio library. And so I encourage you to look into it. The link to the grant information is right there. I know you only have a few days. It's not terribly hard to apply for. Make sure you proofread your application well, because the reviewers get a little bit snippy about poorly proofread applications. And make sure you let them know this is how this money is going to make a difference for our community. This is, these are the outcomes that I expect for our community. You cannot use these funds to purchase prizes or incentives, and you cannot use these funds to purchase food. You can use them to pay for a performer that's going to provide enrichment for your community. I have heard a couple of us were on a call yesterday where the topic of the cost of performers these days came up. So this might be a good way to help subsidize what might be a otherwise expensive venture. You can also use it for supporting your online summer reading management package like Read Squared or Beanstack. You can use it to get supplies for grab and go bags. You can use it to get amplification equipment or a shelter so that you can do outdoor programming. There's a number of different things that you can do with the Summer Library Program grant. And so that's all I will say about that. But Ohio folks, I encourage you to apply. Last thing before I move on, this isn't actually on this website, but it will be of interest to most of you, and most of you know about it already. The Kings Island KI Cares program is currently open. During the month of February each year, Kings Island has a window of opportunity where libraries and other nonprofit organizations can request free admission passes to Kings Island that you can use as a grand prize for your summer library program. If you type in KI Cares into your search engine of choice, you'll find it. If you go to the Kings Island website and look for, I think it's community, you'll find it that way also. If neither of those things work, you can email me. Those of you who know me know that I cannot talk about summer or libraries or anything for a whole hour without at least mentioning food. Both Kentucky and Ohio are fantastic supporters of the USDA Summer Food Service Program, which provides free, nutritious meals and snacks to children during out of school time. This program is federally funded. It's been around for decades, and libraries have been on the uptake with doing summer meals over the past several years. I do not know as of now whether it's going to be a grab and go situation this year, or whether, as in the past before COVID, your kiddos are going to have to sit, in your facility or on your picnic table or whatever to have their meals. Both have worked really well for libraries in the past. So I just encourage you to think about feeding your kids while they're at the library this summer. The link down at the bottom goes to a page on the CSLP website that tells you everything you need to know about the summer food service program. If you don't qualify because communities need to be of a certain level of economic need across the community in order to qualify for this program, or if for whatever reason it's not a good fit for you, please consider other ways that you can just supply something, whether it just be apples and bananas or granola bars or something for your library patrons. Maybe this is something that your friends can help you with, or a local business or volunteer organization. I love food in libraries. I know, because this also came up in conversation yesterday, that because of COVID, a lot of libraries are just not doing food at all, which has been heck for teen programming, because you can hardly bring them in if you don't feed them. So I know that this may and may not work for everybody, but I hope that you'll consider it if you can. Feed your kiddos. It's the next best thing you can do besides reading to them. And with that's all I have. This is my information and kind of a recap of the key websites that you might want to go to. If anyone has any questions or comments or suggestions or rebuttals, please feel free to unmute or put them in the chat and we can chat about them.
Janet, just if you have some digital stuff that you would like us to send out to registrants for this, if you send that to Swan, we'd be glad to send that out. Your slides, anything else that you've got that you'd like to pass out, you can get it to us in a digital form. We can just email it out.
Thank you. I will. Okay, thanks, Gail. For everybody, I will send to Swan the slides if you want to look at them. I'll send to Swan a copy of the Greater Cleveland Aquarium flyer if you're interested in looking at that offer. And I'll send a flyer about the summer food service program. And then if I find anything else sitting around, I'll send that also.